Have you ever wondered why Google Maps shows you the number on your neighbor's car but blurs entire islands and cities? Do you think it's just about privacy protection? No, right now, behind those broken pixels, hide labs with viruses scarier than the plague, nuclear strike control systems, and climate weapons capable of wiping out cities. I found 13 places that have been erased from the digital map because their contents could destroy humanity. And number 13 will truly scare you. Deep in the wild taiga of Alaska, in a place that often appears as a blurred, pixelated spot on maps, stands an object that sends shivers down the spines of conspiracy theorists worldwide. Officially, it's the peaceful HARP Scientific Research Center, but independent experts and military analysts call this place by another name, the Doomsday Climate Gun. From Earth, it looks like a dystopian movie set, a creepy metal forest of 180 enormous 24-meter antennas arranged in perfect geometric rows across an area of 13 hectares. Together, they form a phased array, essentially the most gigantic microwave oven on the planet, only it doesn't heat food, it heats Earth's ionosphere. HARP's operating mechanism is terrifyingly massive. The antennas work in sync, firing a focused energy beam of 3.6 million watts directly into the sky. This strike literally boils the upper layers of the atmosphere. The heated area of the sky transforms into a giant plasma lens or mirror that can be tilted and moved. And this is where the most frightening part begins. By controlling this lens, HARP operators can interfere with global processes. They can heat a section of the atmosphere so much that it shifts the high-altitude jet streams, JTSAMs, which shape the planet's weather. One press of a button in Alaska could theoretically block cyclones, causing a deadly drought in one country, or conversely, unleash a month's worth of rainfall on another, washing away cities with floods. But weather is just the tip of the iceberg. The low-frequency ELF waves that the facility generates when reflected from the ionosphere can penetrate through earth and water. Physicists claim that with precise tuning, such resonance can provoke tectonic plate shifts, causing artificial earthquakes where they shouldn't occur. Moreover, these frequencies suspiciously coincide with human brain alpha rhythms. This gives rise to the most chilling theory. HARP is a global mood switch, capable of plunging the population of an entire region into panic, aggression, or complete apathy. It's no wonder that Google carefully conceals the details of any updates at this base. In the middle of the dried-up bottom of the Aral Sea lies a territory that was missing from all Soviet maps for decades. Even now, in satellite images, this place looks like a lifeless desert with the ruins of strange geometric buildings. This is Vozrozdeniya Island, but a more accurate name for it is Island of Death. Here was located the top-secret Aralsk-7 testing ground, the world's largest biological weapons laboratory. Unlike a nuclear test site, there were no loud explosions here. Death here was quiet and invisible. On the island, they tested combat strains of plague, tularemia, brucellosis, and typhus. But the main achievement of local scientists was a modified anthrax, strain 836. This is a perfect killer, resistant to antibiotics, incredibly resilient, and with 100% lethality. The most terrifying secret of this place is hidden underground, and Google Maps cannot show what lies there. In 1988, when the USSR began to collapse, the military received an urgent order to destroy weapons stockpiles to conceal a violation of the convention. Hundreds of tons of combat anthrax were hastily poured with chlorine bleach, rolled into steel barrels, and buried in shallow graves. The problem is that anthrax spores are practically immortal. They can sleep in the soil for hundreds of years, enduring heat and cold. Chlorine did not kill them. Scientists believe that the barrels have long since rusted through, and concentrated death has begun to seep into the soil. The catastrophic ecology makes the situation even worse. The Aral Sea has dried up. Vozrozdeniya Island has ceased to be an island. It is connected to the mainland by an isthmus. The natural water barrier is no longer there. Now, rodents, lizards, and insects freely migrate from the infected territory to the mainland, risking the spread of spores. This is a biological time bomb with no timer. Just one careless stalker with a shovel or a strong sandstorm is enough for an ancient plague to break out and start an epidemic, for which modern medicine has no cure. In the very heart of the southern Urals rises a mountain whose name translates from Bashkir as Evil Mountain. And this is not just a beautiful myth. Satellite images around Yamantau show strange quarries, helipads, and roads that abruptly end at the cliffs. Nearby stands the closed city of Mezhgorje, which for a long time was not on civilian maps. All of this is the outer shell for the most grandiose and protected underground facility on Earth. American intelligence has been observing this point with alarm for decades. According to their data, inside the mountain is carved not just a bunker, but a real underground city with an area of several hundred square kilometers. It is a giant hive capable of accommodating up to 60,000 people with its own life support systems, years of food supplies, and even an internal railway. The mountain can withstand a direct hit from a nuclear warhead. But it was built not only to save the elite. The main threat of Yamantau lies in a system that is supposedly based in its depths. In the West, it is called Dead Hand. In Russia, the perimeter system. This is a mechanism for guaranteed nuclear retaliation, created in case all military command of the country is destroyed by a first enemy strike. This is the very scenario of machines rising, only in reality. If sensors detect nuclear explosions on the surface and communication with the general staff is interrupted, the computer in the depths of Yamantau will make a decision independently without human involvement. It will send command missiles that will fly over the country and transmit a launch signal to all surviving nuclear silos, submarines, and bombers. In the southern Pacific Ocean lies a place that, on postcards, looks like an ideal tropical paradise. Azure water, coral reefs, white sand. But if you try to examine the northern part of this atoll on Google Maps, you'll find only rough pixelated mess or completely cut out sections of land. This is Mururoa Atoll, and it's not a resort, but the most radioactive Swiss cheese on the planet. France turned this reef into a nuclear test site where 193 atomic bombs were detonated. But the most terrifying thing isn't what happened in the sky, but what they did underwater. The military drilled deep shafts directly into the coral foundation of the island, placed charges there, and detonated them. Years of such tests turned the atoll's solid foundation into rubble, and now it's literally cracking at the seams. The mechanism of disaster here is purely physical and inevitable. Scientists have discovered enormous cracks in the coral crown. The northern part of the atoll, a giant rock mass of millions of cubic meters, has lost stability and is slowly sliding into the ocean. This is a ticking time bomb where gravity replaces TNT. The apocalyptic scenario is simple. At some point, this mass will collapse into the depths. This will cause a stone thrown into a bathtub effect, generating a tsunami as tall as a skyscraper. The gigantic wave will wipe out neighboring inhabited islands in a matter of minutes. But water is only half the problem. In the depths and shafts of Mururoa, like in a burial ground, tons of radioactive waste and plutonium residues are sealed. When the atoll breaks apart, the shaft's impermeability will be compromised. All of this Mendeleev's table will spill into the ocean. Powerful Pacific currents will instantly spread radiation thousands of kilometers, poisoning fish and the ecosystem all the way to the coasts of Australia and South America. Google hides the relief details for a reason. If the world saw the actual state of the cracks, panic would begin today. Everyone has heard of Area 51. It's long been pop culture, a brand and entertainment for tourists in tinfoil hats. But the real zone to be terrified of is in the neighboring state of Utah. This is the Dugway Proving Ground, a place where the US government stores things far scarier than flying saucers. In satellite images, it's a giant white spot in the middle of a lifeless salt desert. The size is astounding. This closed zone is larger in area than the entire state of Rhode Island. If you start zooming in on the map, you'll see strange runways that end nowhere and grim, windowless concrete complexes. This is the largest and most aggressive biological and chemical weapons laboratory in the Western Hemisphere. The threat here is not theoretical. It has already broken out. This went down in history as the sheep incident. In 1968, the military was testing VX nerve agent here. The substance is so toxic that one drop on the skin kills an adult. During the flight, the aircraft's automation malfunctioned, and the sprayer valve did not close in time. A deadly, invisible cloud was caught by the wind and carried beyond the base perimeter towards civilian pastures. The effect was instantaneous and horrifying. In the neighboring valley, over 6,000 sheep dropped dead in a matter of minutes. They just lay down and died. Kilometers of land were strewn with white carcasses. This event showed how fragile the barrier is between the proving ground and civilization. If the wind had blown a little stronger to the east that day, the cloud would have covered not sheep, but the suburbs of Salt Lake City. Thousands of people would have died in terrible convulsions right in their cars and homes without even understanding what happened. But the most frightening thing is what is happening there today. Dugway continues to operate. Insiders and former employees whisper that in the underground levels of the proving ground, hidden from Google satellites, biological chimeras are being created. Geneticists are trying to cross the incredible lethality of the Ebola virus with the contagiousness and infectivity of a common cold. A leak of such a hybrid is a scenario for the end of humanity, against which neither masks nor vaccines will help. And judging by how often new blurred hangars appear in this square on maps, the experiments are in full swing. Let's move to the old world. In the quiet English county of Wiltshire, just a few kilometers from the famous Stonehenge, lies a facility that for decades was not even marked on maps. Today, on Google Earth, this place is visible, but many hangars are strangely blurred, and access roads to the base are blocked by checkpoints. This is Porton Down, the oldest chemical weapons laboratory in the world. From above, it looks like a chaotic collection of buildings and strange circles on the ground. But these circles are not UFO traces, but test ranges for explosives and poison dispensers. It was here in 1916 that chlorine and mustard gas began to be produced, which poisoned soldiers in the trenches of World War I. But chemical weapons are a thing of the past. The real horror stored in Porton Down's freezers today is the doomsday biological collection. Samples of the most terrible diseases in human history are gathered here. Ebola, bubonic plague, anthrax, and the Marburg virus. Officially for vaccine creation, but leaks of information suggest otherwise. Porton Down scientists have spent decades studying not how to cure, but how to kill more effectively. Declassified documents revealed the truth about Operation Cauldron, where scientists from this base sprayed plague bacteria over the Scottish coast and even released bacteria in the London underground to see how quickly the infection would spread through the city during rush hour. They used safe simulants, but the dispersal model was for combat viruses. They turned millions of unsuspecting commuters into laboratory rats. The main threat of Porton Down is the creation of the perfect pathogen. Unlike natural viruses, combat strains are modified to bypass immunity and kill the host faster than they can realize they are sick. Given the base's proximity to densely populated European cities, any ventilation system failure would turn London into a graveyard within 48 hours, and then the infection would spread to the continent. This is Pandora's box standing in the middle of English meadows, and its lid is held by a thread. Let's move to civilized Europe. If you open a map of the Netherlands and find Vocal Air Base, your eyes might sting. Google didn't even try to do it neatly. Part of the base is covered with a rough, acidic digital camouflage. It looks like broken pixels or a video card glitch. But beneath this digital noise lies perhaps NATO's most poorly kept secret. Officially, the Dutch government evaded answering for years, but WikiLeaks leaks and politicians' slips of the tongue confirmed it. Here, in simple hangars, lie 22 American B-61 thermonuclear bombs. These are relics of the Cold War. Each such bomb is many times more powerful than the one that destroyed Hiroshima. And the most frightening thing here is the storage conditions. This is not a deep underground bunker under a mountain, as in the Urals or the USA. The bombs lie in special WS-3 storage facilities directly in the floor of aircraft hangars, protected only by a layer of concrete and a steel plate. And on top are ordinary F-16 fighters, fueled up. The threat of Volkel is a broken arrow scenario. This is what the military calls an incident involving nuclear weapons. Any pilot error during landing, a fire in the hangar, or an aircraft crash on the runway can lead to disaster. Of course, a nuclear explosion from an impact is unlikely due to safety mechanisms, but the destruction of the bomb's casing is guaranteed. If this happens, burning aviation kerosene will mix with the plutonium core of the warhead. A radioactive cloud will form, which the wind will spread across densely populated areas of Europe. Millions of people in the Netherlands, Germany, and Belgium will find themselves in an exclusion zone. This will be a European Chernobyl. But it will happen not because of an old reactor, but because someone decided to store doomsday weapons literally in an airplane parking lot. And judging by the aggressive censorship on the maps, the military perfectly understands how vulnerable this target is. On the very edge of the Earth, where Russia borders the Pacific Ocean, amidst majestic volcanoes of Kamchatka, lies a place that determines whether we wake up tomorrow morning. On Google Maps, the village of Rybachi is often hidden by suspiciously static clouds or simply blurred in low resolution. This is not a rendering error. It's the hornet's nest of the Pacific Fleet. Here are based the Borei-class nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines. It sounds official, but let's translate it into plain language. Each such boat is a floating apocalypse. One such cruiser carries 16 Bulava intercontinental ballistic missiles. Each missile has up to 10 independently targetable nuclear warheads. The mathematics of death here are simple and terrifying. One salvo from one such submarine in total power surpasses all bombs dropped during World War II, including Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This is enough to wipe out all major cities on the eastern coast of the USA or turn Europe into radioactive ash. But the most chilling thing is not what we see at the base, but what we don't see. The satellite image only shows the boats at the pier. This means the others are currently somewhere in the ocean. They are designed to be invisible. They can lie on the bottom for months anywhere in the world's oceans, hiding under the thick ice of the Arctic or in warm currents off the coast of California. Google Maps is powerless to find them. When the order comes, the world has only 15 to 20 minutes. The missiles emerge from the water, and it's impossible to stop them. This base in Kamchatka is a reminder that the mechanism of mutual assured destruction is armed, and a finger is always on the trigger. In the middle of the scorching sands of the Negev desert, far from the eyes of tourists, lies a facility that was simply cut out of Google Maps for many years. At best, you might see a blurry, low-resolution spot, at worst, crudely drawn dunes over the desert. This is the Dimona Nuclear Research Center. The official legend states it's a textile factory. Later, the version changed to a research station for growing plants in the desert. But no one in the world believes in this agrarian myth. Behind the fence, guarded by air defense systems and elite units, a plutonium production plant for weapons operates. According to experts, between 80 and 400 nuclear warheads have already been assembled here in underground bunkers. This makes Israel the sixth nuclear power in the world, although officially the country neither admits nor denies it. This policy of nuclear ambiguity keeps the entire Middle East in suspense, But the main threat of Dimona is not the mere presence of bombs, but their doctrine of use known as the Samson option. This is a doomsday scenario. It is named after the biblical hero who brought down the temple roof, killing himself and all his enemies. The essence of the doctrine is simple and monstrous. If Israel's defenses collapse and enemy armies break into the country, the military will launch everything they have. Nuclear strikes will be aimed not only at the invading armies, but also at all enemy capitals. This would be an act of mass suicide that would instantly draw the superpowers of the USA, Russia, and China into war. Dimona is a match lit to the planet's largest powder keg. And judging by how carefully Google erases this square from the face of the Earth, the fuse has long been lit. Let's travel beyond the Arctic Circle, into the realm of eternal permafrost. On the Svalbard archipelago, amidst the dead snows, a strange, futuristic structure protrudes from a mountain, a concrete wedge glowing in the polar night. On Google Maps, you can see the entrance, but everything around it is often hidden or has low detail. This is the Doomsday Vault. Officially, it's a global seed bank and ark for plants. Here, 120 meters deep inside the rock, behind armored doors, duplicates of seeds of all Earth's agricultural crops are stored. Wheat, rice, corn, the golden reserve of the gene pool. The builders assure that the bunker can withstand a direct hit from a nuclear warhead, an asteroid impact, and global warming. It is high enough that it won't be flooded even if all the planet's ice melts. And here arises a question that makes one uneasy. Why are they in such a hurry? The vault was opened relatively recently, and its funding involved the most influential people and corporations in the world, from Bill Gates to the Rockefeller Foundation. Conspiracy theorists are convinced this is not charity, it's preparation. The world's elite knows something. They are building this bunker not for you and me. The threat of this place is psychological. The existence of such a reliable, autonomous, and closed facility is a marker. If the powerful of the world spend billions of dollars to hide food deep under Arctic ice, it means they expect life on the surface to soon become impossible. Access to the vault is strictly forbidden. No one knows what else was brought in the last containers under the guise of seeds. Perhaps it stores technologies for the revival of civilization or the DNA of the chosen ones themselves. In any case, when the doors of Svalbard close hermetically from the inside, for us left outside, it will mean the beginning of the end. The next item on our list needs no introduction. Its name became a curse for the whole world in 2020. This is the Wuhan Institute of Virology. On Google Maps, this place looks like a modern, sterile scientific campus. But if you try to find detailed images of this area during the beginning of the pandemic, you will encounter an information vacuum. Researchers noticed oddities. Archived satellite images that could show activity around the laboratory during critical months were either unavailable or had low resolution. Satellite images became the main clue for world intelligence agencies. CIA analysts studied not the buildings themselves, but the parking lots around them. They noticed a sharp spike in the number of cars at hospitals and at the laboratory itself in the fall of 2019, long before the official announcement of the virus. Maps screamed about trouble while authorities remained silent. But the main threat lies inside, behind the walls of biosafety level BSL-4. This is the maximum level of protection designed for working with pathogens for which there are no cures. Here they engaged in so-called gain-of-function research, studies to enhance the functions of viruses. It sounds like madness, but scientists deliberately made bat coronaviruses more infectious and deadly to humans, allegedly to learn how to fight them. Many are convinced they created a monster they couldn't contain. The horror of Wuhan is not in the past, but in the future. The laboratory continues to operate. Experiments have not stopped. Right now, as we look at this neat complex of buildings on the map, Freezers may contain strains compared to which COVID-19 will seem like a mild cold. If a leak happened once, what prevents it from happening again with something that has a lethality not of 1%, but of 50%? Humanity may not survive a second mistake at the same coordinates. In the middle of the red Australian desert, far from civilization, stands an object that locals call the space base. In satellite images, you'll see a strange picture: gigantic white spheres resembling golf balls scattered across the wasteland. This is Pine Gap, the most important and most secret U.S. spy base outside of America. These white domes are radomes. They protect powerful antennas that look into space. Pine Gap is Washington's ears in the Eastern Hemisphere. The base is run by the CIA and the NSA. It is believed that it is from here that communications across Asia and the Middle East are intercepted. They hear everything, from generals' negotiations to your phone call. But Pine Gap is not just a passive spy. It is an active participant in wars. It is from here that signals are sent to control American combat drones in Pakistan, Yemen, and Syria. When a missile from a drone destroys a car somewhere on the other side of the world, the launch command most likely passed through these white spheres in Australia. The main threat of this place is geopolitical. Pine Gap makes Australia a hostage to someone else's war. Military analysts acknowledge that in the event of a global conflict between the US and China or Russia, Pine Gap would become target number 1 for a nuclear strike. By destroying this base, the enemy would blind the American military in an entire hemisphere. The residents of the nearest city, Alice Springs, live with the understanding that they are a living shield. If World War III begins, they will evaporate first without even having time to understand who pressed the button and why. And Google Maps, which often accidentally blurs the access roads to the base, only confirms technologies are hidden here that determine the balance of power on the entire planet. Final chord, the 13th object. We cannot bypass the king of all secret bases, but we will present it not as an alien tale, but as a technogenic threat. We could not end this list with anything else. The most famous secret place on Earth, the pop star of conspiracy theories? But forget about little green men and flying saucers from movies. The real danger of Area 51 or Lake Base is much more prosaic and terrifying. On Google Maps, this dried-up lake in Nevada looks surprisingly clear. You see hangars, a very long runway, roads, but this is a trap, an illusion of transparency. What you are allowed to see are administrative buildings and dormitories. The real work is boiling south in Sector S4, which is either blurred or masterfully hidden behind mountain terrain. Insiders, such as the famous physicist Bob Lazar, claimed the main goal of the base is reverse engineering, an attempt to disassemble and copy technologies that do not belong to humanity. This refers to gravitational engines and energy sources based on element 115. Why is this a threat of destruction? Because we are monkeys with a grenade. Scientists are trying to launch reactors and engines whose operating principles they do not fully understand. Playing with gravity and space-time curvature in laboratory conditions is a planetary scale risk. One error in calculations, one unstable decay of an unknown element can lead to an energy release that will not just blow up the base, but create a quantum singularity or a micro black hole. This is a scenario in which Nevada will simply collapse in on itself, dragging the rest of the world with it. Area 51 is guarded so strictly not so that we don't see aliens, but so that no one interferes with the military playing gods while luck is on their side. 13 places. 13 black holes on the map of our world. Google, governments, and the military do everything to make you think that the planet is under control. They blur hangars with pixels, erase islands, and rewrite maps. But the truth is, we live on a powder keg. While you were watching this video, in the laboratories of Wuhan, in the shafts of Yamantau, or in the bunkers of Dugway, someone could have made a mistake. a mistake that can no longer be blurred out in Photoshop. If you felt uneasy, that's normal. It means you understand reality. Write in the comments which of these objects scared you the most and if there are places in your city that Google Maps somehow hides. I will read everything. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell because in the next video, I will show you what is under Antarctica. And believe me, you'd rather not know.